Art, what did make number 7 on your list?
Poor Things, the newest one by Yorgos
Ooh.
Lanthimos. It has what I consider one of the best performances of the year as we're breaking down everyone's categories as we lead up to the Oscars and our Intercut Awards. I think Emma Stone is fantastic in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there has been so many debates, so many discussions about the movie and its themes and such, but yeah, just like every other movie that's out there that's talking about female-centric themes, this one has the star also as the producer. And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people forget when discussing this movie on like who has the authority to say it. And to me, if you were to swap out Yorgos with a female director, and if that automatically gives you all that praise, that's
Mhm.
pretty goofy in my opinion. There are things that this movie doesn't talk about that people are mad it didn't talk about. Then they praise another movie that also doesn't talk about those things. So it's not really, it feels like nitpicking many times for what it's going for. We actually had a very interesting discussion because we were kind of split between two of Yorgos' works.
Mm.
I think we have both given the inverse between Amanda and I of Poor Things and The Favorite.
I think so.
Two movies that has Emma Stone at the center, having to sexually satisfy others who are very whiny supporting characters that then push her to be able to find herself.
Mhm.
They're the exact same movie. I don't hate well, a little different.
They're a little different.
I don't hate The Favorite.
Bella's enjoying herself. For
That's
the most
true.
part. For the most part.
Learns to after a while.
I think it's
say.
isn't it the opposite?
It kind of
Isn't it
sort
the
of starts
opposite?
with her enjoying herself, goes away from it, and then comes back.
Yeah.
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 but
She's
she's a
so
baby.
into it. I know, and
She's a
that's
baby at the
weird. I know. People are trying to argue on that. People are being like, "No," and I'm like, "Guys,
It's
stop!
the
This is
worst-
not where we lose. We're not arguing
It's
here."
the worst consent discourse since people argued about whether or not Wonder Woman was doing some sort of assault by kissing the imaginary or Chris Pine character. I don't know.
She was,
That was
bro. She had
also
that man
weird.
doing Lifetime movies after that.
That was weird.
That was weird.
That was weird.
But why can't it just be weird? These are movies,
Yeah.
all right? So with it being a movie, they went a weird route.
I mean, it's a fascinating movie for sure. And even if like, so I think some of the feminism discourse around it is pretty funny because as we mentioned, the main character has a baby's brain, so we're not going to necessarily get to the deepest discussions in a 2-hour movie. But there are, even if like it's not necessarily everybody's perfect vision of like a feminist statement, like
Why
there's
does
some
it
pretty
have to be?
radical. There's some pretty radical ideas in there as well. Like the movie's treatment of sex work and the whole like consortium in France is pretty interesting, and also just like that whole idea of her curiosity about the world turning into like deep empathy and like fear
Horror
or upset at the world, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of really interesting elements to pull out of Poor Things. It's not my favorite Lanthimos, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and have to agree with Art that like Emma Stone is giving the performance of the year, and it's truly like one of the great comedic performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, Mark
Ruffalo
throwing
kills
his
it in this
whole
movie.
ass into this. Yeah.
There is, if you were to look at this as being Ken and Barbie, there is a Ken here that is split in between two people.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo being the most toxic parts of Ken, and then our boy Rami Youssef being the nice, like way too nice in this movie as being the supportive character. And like that's part of her journey and growing up. I don't know. I loved the path that they have her go on, all of the ups and downs and everything. I thought it was a really interesting journey to see somebody who isn't inhibited because of the circumstances of this crazy story and what she is.
Yeah.
That she's allowed to learn and grow and do all these things that many times when being in society or not being, the person who she is able to, she's able to go down a path that you don't usually see. And she interacts with things differently. And I found that to be fascinating. I thought it was a fantastic role. I think this is up there with Dogtooth. I think Dogtooth still edges it out just a little bit.
Nice.
But I think Poor Things is fantastic and weird in all the best ways.
Yeah. My last thought on that, if I may, is with the baby thing, which is messed up. The thing that I do like about that aspect, not that I like that that's happening, but it's this really over the top way of showing that there are so many men out there that want to have these like controlling sexual relationships with women while also infantilizing them. They want to do the most adult things they can with them while also not wanting to give them any autonomy, not wanting to like kind of respect them. And I know that that's what a lot of girls are really connecting with in this movie is that feeling of like these guys thinking you're perfect. And then the second that you are like, well, no, I'm going to like advocate for myself here, they start losing their fucking minds because no longer are you this perfect thing. That
you're only attractive when you're not a full person.
That's exactly it. You're only attractive when you're not a full person. Yeah. So I fully get why, like, I can't necessarily explain why I just didn't like the experience of watching this movie. I like so much of what it's doing. I like so much of what it's going for. Even the stuff that's disturbing and screwed up that makes me think like, that's kind of disturbing and screwed up. I know it's intentional and they're not making the moral saying, oh no, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, it's not fine. That's the whole point. It's not fine. None of this has ever been fine. I just didn't enjoy watching it. So like when I say I'm too gay for this, I didn't mean like there's too much straight sex. You'll see later one of my favorite movies of the year is very focused on just a straight couple kind of like going at it and just kind of having this weird dynamic. It's not that. I'm not a virgin. I'm not a sexless loser, as some people want to say.
Breaking news, put the ticker at the bottom.
You know, and you know, it's just, and I think there's just something about the movie. I'm going to watch it again and maybe I'll enjoy it more the second time. I had no idea what I was going into watching this movie. I hadn't seen any previews, anything. I've just seen the pictures. So maybe having an expectation of what it is will help me appreciate it more. It's just, it was done. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about what I just watched. So, and I know that and obviously it's a very good movie and it's one of those ones I can see as a good movie. I'm just, if anybody else there feels, I'm like, if anybody else out there feels like they're crazy for not liking this when they're seeing all their friends like going, you're not crazy. There might be a reason.
You're insane. 4.5 stars. Poor thing.
Poor things. But yeah.
What would be y'all's favorite Yorgos?
It might be deer. It might be deer.
Really?
Deer?
Killing of a Sacred Deer?
It might be Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think I just refreshed.
That's like way more insane than this.
It is way more insane, but I feel like I had recently, what did I watch? I watched something that I was like, this is like the bad version of that movie, and it made me appreciate Killing of a Sacred Deer. It is a lot, but it was something recently. It was something this year or last year.
Okay.
Dogtooth obviously is like the big one, but I've come to really appreciate Killing of a Sacred Deer this year. I don't know why.
Dogtooth's probably my favorite Yorgos, and if we're just going from the English language ones, I think I'd still lean The Lobster. I know there's some people who don't really like it, but I love that movie.
No, Lobster's good.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what he has.
Yeah.
All right, so Poor Things makes number 7 on Arturo's list.